And then what was your career like up until, I guess, OGEL? What did you do?
I worked for a number of companies, sort of putting systems in. And in about the mid-90s, I sort of decided I've had enough working with other people. Sort of a friend of mine had a printing company, and I went to sort of work and become a part of the printing company. And then we sort of developed that up. But that company sort of we went bankrupt in about 2001, which was really the hardest thing ever to sort of lose a company. Is the hardest thing ever when you sort of so you work so hard into something, and I actually sort of swore that I would never ever go into business again. I would just do what I did well, just put the systems in, do what I'm good at. I've been like sort of like financial controller, financial director, that sort of thing. And it was, I can tell you to the minute when sort of OGEL started, to the minute, and it was Wednesday, the 4th of February, 2015, at 3:45 in the afternoon. I'll tell you exactly when the company started.
So how, is that when you had the idea?
Sort of. What happened was I used to work for a company down in Thirsk called Weatherby Group, who did paint and renders in like and what the company done is they've been over to Germany, and we just sort of put some money down on a bagging system to sort of put render into polypropylene bags. And the chairman of the company, a gentleman called John Chalmers, came back, and he was a very entrepreneurial guy, John. It's a very self-made man, and he sort of turned around and he said, "Well, if worse comes to worse, we can always make sandbags." And I went, "Sandbag? That's a bit sort of." And it just hit something in my brain. Like sort of, if only you have a way of building better to build a better flood defense system. And
so is that how it started?
That's the journey. That was the journey, yeah. And it literally so that's why I can tell you to the minute when it was, because that's when they sort of came back and came into the office having got off the plane from Germany.
Because when there was a spate in the UK where there seemed to be floods every month. And it was, so I'm from the Northwest, and it was just, I remember, it was still is a big thing, but, it's just, it's really interesting just to hear where inspiration and that can come from, and that kind of thing. So, but there's a big jump between sandbags, flood defense to the finished product.
Yes. Oh, yes.
What was that journey? How did you? Because obviously there must be several pivots in there where you transferred.
Oh, yeah. There was definitely a few pivots in that journey. The first thing was I knew nothing about product design. I knew nothing about plastic. All I knew was there must be a way of building flood defences better. All right. Now, I sort of describe it as. So what happened was I said, I've got some ideas as to how this thing should work. And I went to see a friend of mine who is a graphic designer. I said, let's sketch some ideas out. And I thought, well, we don't know how to make this stuff. And we went to this company called E3 Design up in Newburn on the west side of Newcastle. And I said, I've got some ideas. So I'm happy to put some money in. Can your guys come up with these ideas for flood defence? And that's what they did. And they sort of came back with some initial ideas.
Okay. And
one of these ideas was two L shapes. Okay. Now, the problem with two L shapes is the idea that they sort of came back with these two L shapes was, well, what we can do is we can sort of make like effectively blocks and then tether one block to the next block. It was like, oh, yeah, okay, that's good. But it wasn't quite right. So all the other ideas couldn't really get it. Didn't know what it was, and there was a couple of very, very important factors. Sort of, like, if you've ever seen the film Slumdog Millionaire, where he manages to answer the questions because of experiences in his life.
Yep. Yeah.
That's what it was. I got these experiences in my life that played into it. The first experience was my dad. When I was a child, is a builder, and I was a builder. He used to make me go on building sites. And so I had sort of been a child, I was watching them build this gable wall. I said, why not the bricks on the bottom, crush the bricks why the bricks on the top, not crushing the bricks on the bottom? And I had all these bricklayers with the sandwiches on the bed going, we don't know. and then long story short, it's about weight displacement and about sort of each sort of 2 bricks taking the weight of 1 brick, filtering the weight down for the building. Great, okay. So it's like sort of, and I remember my dad sort of saying there's only two basic problems that you have to solve in building: how you join the same shape up and down, side to side, so vertical and horizontally. Which led on to the second part, which is sort of how do I sort of take this L shapes and join them together without using like jointing pieces of some kind. And that led us on to the Battle of Culloden, Bonnie Prince Charlie. Right, because my thing is history. My thing is history all day long, okay? In the Battle of Culloden, the Duke of Cumberland lined his men up against the Scots who came charging down the hill. And what he did was he realised that his guys only had a musket and a bayonet. So once these guys had fired the one shot, the Scotsman would knock the bayonet to one side and hit them with a claymore. What the Duke of Cumberland did was he trained all his men. Once they fired the shot, if they hadn't killed their man, rather than take the man coming towards them, they all went one man to the side and tackled the man tackling their friend. The reason for that is because the sword arm was up, they had half the body to attack, and they could sort of. So how that comes back to building is, and it's a eureka moment, is, well, hang on, if we offset the back of the L to the front of the L, we can keep building as long as we want. And it was like, that's what it was. It was a eureka moment. It was an absolute eureka moment. And then I went off to sort of find a patent attorney to sort of say, has anybody ever thought of this before? Nobody ever thought of it. Went through all these sort of catalogues and everything else. Never been done.
But that's almost part of the beauty that when you talk about business strategy is the fact that your lived experience is different to mine and other people's. That often I completely agree with it. It's stuff that you learn just throughout your life, and it's when not everyone does, but you figure out how it can all interlink and work. That a lot of other people might, well, they haven't, but they might never come up with that. You can give smart people the same thing.
Yes, yeah.
Because the other thing which blew my mind when we first met, you explained the name as well. Just for legal reasons, I'll let you do it in case you're not allowed to talk about it.
I also play a game with people, obviously it's different to doing a podcast, and you already know. And the game I play is, well, I can tell you where the name comes from, or I can give you 3 clues. And first clue is, what is it? It's a building product. Okay, yes, fine. What's it made out of? Plastic. Okay, yeah. So they're going building product, plastic. Most people go, no, I haven't got, don't know what it is. I sort of said, which way does the arrow point? And then people still go, no, I don't get it. And I go, the arrow points from that way to that way. And they go, Lego. Yes, because Lego was one of the inspirations behind it. So Lego backwards.
Out of interest, has anyone from Lego ever legally challenged you or approached you?
I haven't, but I really am hoping they do. I would love it if they did, because that's what I've got a friend who knows a lot about trademarks and everything else, and there's about 18 different criteria that work on a trademark.
So I'm 99% sure you're fine. I was just interested, because again, when although in advance of the interview we do prep questions and stuff, it's stuff that I actually don't know, and that's why I'm interested, which hopefully makes it a good interview. But the other good thing as well is that whenever you can relate something to people who inherently know and understand, and people know how strong Lego is. Yes, this is just like a bigger, better version, but it is really useful in a way that if I said to you, look, I'm going to launch a new website, it's like eBay, but it does something slightly differently. You have that frame of reference to really just get it instantly. As where if you call it Gary Giles' building products, there's a massive journey to go from there to actually understanding what it is. So a clever name is super, super useful.
So that's exactly it. So that's where that was the inspiration for the name, because it was like sort of Lego back. Because there is an organisation called the Oil and Gas and Electrical Licensing Organisation, very very small, quango, some sort of size. And I thought, well, yeah. We can soon sort of jump above those on a Google search, which we already do. If you type in Google, chances are we'll come up first.
But again, that's massively underappreciated when people come up with their company name, that they pick something that, well, for one, you want to find something that's easy to find, something that's easy to search for.
Yes,
and exactly. Again, if it's unique, so I'm trying to think of a famous. I'll just use yours.
Why not? Yeah.
But the point is, it's something memorable that's short, that actually they put into Google, and it probably
Yes.
there's not going to be many search results of the same thing. As where if you had Manchester United Building Company,
Yes.
you put in Manchester United, you're never going to find these guys.
You're never going to find them.
That's why it's so useful to come up with a clever and unique name. And I think that's part of the reason why a lot of the startups, that you see they have really funky names. But
Yes.
it's for the internet. It works an absolute kind of dream. So what happened next then? So you spoke to your friends and legal team, and I guess did you put in the patent straight away?
Pretty much, yeah. So we start that journey very quickly. Because sort of we knew what it was, we knew it was going to work, and we're sort of working the patents, and obviously sort of. So that's one thing. Once again, I knew nothing about patents. Didn't know a thing about patents. So I now know. Without blowing me on trumpet too much, I now know quite a lot about patents, more than the average bear. So yeah. So that whole journey. So it's like, okay, well. Put in for the patent now gives us it sort of, we've got 18 months before we have to file properly, which allows us to develop the product, which went through that sort of journey.
So you hadn't made it to the point where you knew it was going to work yet. You put the patent in first.
We knew about the L shapes. We knew it had to be an L shape because the beauty of an L sort of, I mean, I know sort of we make a joke about being Lego. It's actually nothing like Lego because people sort of say, well, people used to call them ogle blocks. Well, actually, the irony is we never make a block out of it. We make a course out of it, but we never make a block out of it, So ogle blocks, but it's a term of reference that people use, and you go, okay, that's fair enough. But we knew it was an L shape. We got a patent on the L. We got a patent on, would you believe, unbelievably, patent on how it tessellates around to do that, how it packs away like that, how it joins up and down, how it joins side to side. Obviously, the key is how it joins horizontally. The fact that you can offset like that and then cut a piece to sort of make a solid wall. It's very, very, very handy. If we got a patent on the holes in it, if we use a flood defence, because if we use it as a flood defence, and we put holes in one side, which allows water to come into the wall, without getting out the back side of the wall, which builds a wall of water, all those sort of things. And then when the flood goes down again, the water leaves the holes that it left. It came in through, should I say?
That's clever. Yeah.
So all these little things, but it's all the same basic design.
Because what's also interesting is that, and I completely agree with this, people think that they have to know everything about everything to start a business, where actually there are people you can learn from, and actually the amount of knowledge that you pick up about different stuff over time is so massive, to do it streaming or flood defences or patents or whichever, that the hardest bit is to get the idea, and then likewise almost start the execution to do it. There's a big difference between, and I had that decision of, do I work for myself or do I take a job? And one is a lot more risky than the other one, but not everyone has that. And again, so you needed the character trait of people that could figure out the problem, have the conviction to actually kind of see it through, and then actually the lived experience to figure out how your history references to actually do it. Does that make sense? And that's why in many ways it's only you that could have done that. In the same way with the roadmap stuff I do, I think I'm the only person that maybe could have done this. And it's interesting, but that's when you've got something special in terms of a business. That if you wanted to go and sell cold water on a hot summer's day, anyone can set up and do it. Yeah, you'll get some sales, but it's not a great business to be in, because someone's going to gazump you, or as soon as the weather turns. But the harder it is to get into, the barrier to entry, no pun intended. The better. If that makes sense.
Yes. No, you're right, Steve. That's the whole thing, because I didn't know anything about patents, but I knew it was a good idea. So you speak to somebody, E3 in this case, who were experts in, they knew a lot about injection molding, they knew a lot about plastics, they didn't know a lot about extrusion, but we found a company, or they found a company, and this took a long time. This took about 6 to 8 months to find a company that could extrude and could do what we wanted to do. That was really, really difficult. Because we wanted to make an L shape. Well, making an L shape is a really, really difficult thing to do in extrusion. The reason being is, when it goes to the process, if it goes 1 degree that way or 1 degree that way,
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. So went to this company and said, well, you're never going to do that. But if you make it as 2 pieces and glue them together, that'll work. But that took another engineer at an extrusion company to go, which was Alan Watts, who came on Dragon's Den with me, to go, that's the way you do it, and this is how you make it, and this is build a box. So we actually sort of glue one side and glue the other side, put it together as a box shape, and then we cut it to whatever length we want, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And then we sort of know that it's perfect, 90 degrees, you know, and then put it back away. You know?
So would you be happy to give a quick pitch about what OGEL is, what the products can be used for, that kind of thing? I think I'll just help people set the scene for...
Yeah, what it is we sort of figured out, well, there's three. We set up to solve three problems. We set up to sort of go, okay, well, plastic waste, okay, we can do something with that. We can do something with flood defences, yeah, we can do something with that. And can we sort of do something with humanitarian shelters? You know, sort of, because if you can build a building, you know, well, you can sort of, our first thought was, yes, we can do garden rooms, everything else, but that garden room can be a humanitarian shelter.
Yeah.
And that was one of the inspirations behind it, really. Sort of, and it then became sort of, I don't like to say I'm a socialist, but I'm certainly sociable, put that way. And it was like sort of, okay, well, what good can we do with this product? Sort of, I'm always going to be okay financially. I've got the skills to sort of do a variety of jobs, you know. But what can we sort of do to sort of make a difference? You know, so it's almost like, can we use one problem to solve two other problems? You know, and then as the journey went along, we went, okay, right, to get acceptance for this product, let's, you know, then sort of COVID hit, if you like. So it's like, so, okay, can we make buildings out of this stuff? Yes, we can. And then so it's okay, well, garden rooms, we can do garden rooms. That would be, because we said, okay, right, well, let's try and make a for-profit element of the company. So if you're making a for-profit element, you can then use some of that profit to sort of plough into other elements of the process, you know. I mean, the same product, which might be a military building, like a temporary military building that we can sort of charge the military top whack for, and be the same building that we sort of do for sub-Saharan Africa for cost. It's the same process. If we use the patents correctly, we can still sort of stop somebody from coming in and sort of taking our market, if you like.
Yeah, I agree.
You know?
Well, it's one of the things that I see is that so I run Roadmap MBA Limited as a proper company that is for profit. But because I have complete control over it, I can choose, and the community element of it is huge. That's the whole point of why it exists. But I self-regulate that I don't, because I work for myself and it's only me, I don't have time to do all the proper audits and stuff that would just tie me down to actually doing stuff. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having a company that can still act for good. It's still for profit, and it's up to you and how you manage that. But it's fundamentally different to a charity where you're asking for other people's money.
Correct.
And I love that, but I think sometimes, you know, people want the B Corp sticker or whichever, but actually anyone could do that. And I think when people really kind of buy into the vision and the values about what someone's trying to do, you know, it's a longer term play that I get it. I really kind of do. Because the other thing that's really clever as well, unless it's changed, is it correct that almost anyone can build it themselves?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, sort of at the minute, just from a control perspective, so we're doing it ourselves, but we're looking for people to have those basic DIY skill that you can build it.
But you don't need to know how to erect steelwork or lay foundations.
So maybe that's a basic sort of, as long as you can sort of make something level and put once the base is in and correct, and you've measured the base correctly, the rest goes up. It's like most things in life. If you get the foundation right, everything else really is much easier.
It's a good metaphor. So there's so many metaphors we can use for your business.
Oh yeah, the building product. It's bricks and mortar, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
But the funny thing is that there's fundamental value in what you're doing.